Right, here we are, Paul. Welcome to my world. This is my front room, complete with engineering section. There's one of my paragliders there. Here we are, the business part of the room. There's my lathe, a Myford ML7. I wanted the Super 7, but at the time I was working in the shed, and the shed wouldn't accommodate the Super 7, so I settled for the ML7, and I'm quite happy with that machine. It does everything I need it to do. Lots of tools hung behind it, which a lot of people say you shouldn't do, but I get on all right with them. Here is the power unit for the lead screw, the powered lead screw, which I now use. It's a wiper motor. It gives me forward and reverse, slow and fast speeds, and it's driven by a synchronous belt with a 3-to-1 reduction drive, and it works quite well. It gives me a nice smooth finish. I incorporated a dog clutch. I actually chopped the lead screw through about there and fitted a dog clutch, which means that the lead screw can rotate without turning the gears, so it makes the load a lot lighter. And having 2 speeds is very convenient, and being able to reverse back out is very, very convenient, especially if I'm boring a large hole in a piece of stock. I can power myself in and then reverse myself back out again. Lovely soft finish, a lovely smooth finish. Bits and pieces, all sorts of stuff in there. As you probably know yourself, you can't have too much storage space, and no matter how much storage space you have, it will accumulate stuff. And here is my milling machine. Let's step back so you can see the whole thing. As I said, it's on a box. I'm actually holding the camera at eye level, which gives you some indication as to the height that I'm working at now. It makes it lovely and convenient because my eyesight's not as good as it used to be. That was my first problem. The winding handle, which moves the head up and down, that's the head. The winding handle is, I can reach it, don't get me wrong, I can reach it, but it's just a little bit too far to be comfortable. So I fitted the stepper motor and a 3-to-1 reduction drive again with a synchronous belt, and I built myself a power unit, control panel. There's the power unit's actually inside the bench, where the wire comes out there. The power unit's inside there. The control panel with all the associated electronics are in there. And what I have here, that's up and down, that's left and right. And I've made the switches work in the same way, up and down, left and right. Up and down, speed and range. I've got 3 ranges. I've got low, mid and high. On high, it goes up that's as fast as I need it to go up. It will go faster, but that's how fast it's rotating, and it will come down at the same speed, naturally enough. If I switch on the DRO, you can see how quickly that's coming down. And if I switch ranges down to the mid-range, it becomes much slower. That's the speed at which I was boring. I was drilling, I drilled a pilot hole for this, which is 1/2 inch thick. I drilled a pilot hole coming down at that sort of speed. If I want to set up on the DRO accurately, I drop down to the low range, which gives me that sort of movement, and I can slow it right down to there. So I can position it with a great degree of accuracy. The machine itself is lovely and silent in operation. oddly enough, it changes, the sound of it changes as the speed changes. If I slow it right down, it sounds quite rough until it's settled. And if I speed it up, I can't go much faster than that because the boring bar is offset, it's out of balance, and the whole machine is, I don't know whether you can see it, but it's vibrating. So I slow it down a little bit, switch it off. I got forward and reverse as well. And although I've got a DRO on the y-axis, one on the x-axis, and one on the z-axis as well, so that I can work with micrometer precision. I've also got a DRO on the quill, so that if I lock the head in position, I can bring the quill down, and I've got a DRO which has all the usual functions. I can zero it, I can swap from imperial to metric, and that is very, very versatile. So I'm quite happy with that. Let's switch it back off again. The main bed is quite a long bed, 28 inches long, and it means I can fit 2, possibly even 3 vices on there at the same time, which is useful. The y-axis is quite a long one. I believe the y-axis travel is about 7.5 inches, which is probably more than I'm going to need, but it's always good to have the extra capacity if you need it. The lead screw is quite a chunky lead screw as well. At the moment, the end plate and winding handle have been removed so that I can get the motor fitted. This is the motors that I'm using. They're quite chunky motors. They're stepper motors rather than DC motors. And I'm going to actually fit this one there, so that it's flush up against the end and sat just under the dovetail. It means that I will lose that much of the use of the bed, which is only a couple of inches in actual fact, because the motor will hit the casting. But if necessary, I can dismount the motor quite quickly, just in case I need to use that last little bit of bed. It was an expensive machine as far as I'm concerned, but to me it's well worth it. And it's the Toolco VM30 VB. But the same machine is sold by half a dozen different people. It's a number 3 Morse taper spindle, a kilowatt DC motor, and I'm really happy with it. There's my stock. As you probably do, if I have to buy a foot of something, I normally buy a metre of it, which means that I've got lots of stuff left over. That's my stock of brass. I haven't got an awful lot of it left. That's a good tool as well. It's a barbecue vacuum cleaner, and it picks swarf up as easily as anything. That's another little addition to my family of tools. It's a silent compressor. When it fires up, it's about the same noise as a fridge or a freezer, and it means I've got a constant source of compressed air, so I can play with my engines in the evenings. That's an engine that I built from a written description, and I didn't have any pictures of it. I just built it from the written description, and it worked straight away. I'm really happy with that. It's the first one I built that has a control chest to control the porting. It's called a spindle. No, it isn't. It's called, I can't remember what it's called now. It's called a bobbin machine, because the shaft which controls the porting is shaped like a cotton bobbin. That's the shroud of a telescope. I acquired that from someone that had it and didn't want it. That's a smoke flare for when I go paragliding. That is my fancy engine. Lovely little engine this is. It's one of my favourites. I downloaded the plans and then modified the plans and made it as I wanted it. Runs quite well. That's my Myford Boy engine. I bought the castings. Golly, that's stiff. That needs oiling. Oh, it's running backwards, that's why it's stiff. That's better. I bought the flywheel and the blue casting and then made everything else myself. It works quite well. That's a little single cylinder oscillating engine. As you can see, the cylinder itself oscillates backwards and forwards. Nice little engine, that. A Stirling engine. Everybody must have a Stirling engine. And that's a coffee pot Stirling engine that Bill Cole bought me as a present. How nice is that? That's the milling machine that I used to have. Well, I still have it. It's the one I used to use. It's the XJ9512. Bill's going to have that. I'll take it up and deliver it to him so that I can install it and make sure it's working properly. Rest of the junk under the table is stuff that's destined for the camper. Although in the long box at the back there is a 10-ton ram, which I'm going to use when I get round to it for testing tubes to see that they're suitable for use above 4,500 psi, because some people in America can actually run pressures like that. So that's it. That's my front room. I'm quite happy to stop in here and not go outside at all. I'll upload this video to YouTube now, mate, and let you watch it at your leisure.